Welcome to the Boulder County Assessor's Office training for our residential comparable sales lookup tool. In this video, we are going to follow step by step through the instructions that are also posted to our website, and I can show you where you can find those as well. We're actually going to start by going to our website, which you can look by looking at bouldercounty.gov, or we can actually cheat and go to boulder.assessor.org. That is BOULDERASSESSOR.org. And that takes us straight to the assessor's office page. If you scroll down just a little bit, there are a set of assessor's links over on the right-hand side, right underneath the photo of the assessor. Go ahead and click on the appeals link. And now you should be in the real property appeals section of our website. On the very first page, depending on the size of your screen, you'll have to scroll down a little bit. And only about a third of the way down the page is the Learn to Use the Residential Comparable Sales Lookup Tool. In this section, you can find the tool is listed as the first link. The second link, you can sign up for some online classes, which are available at certain times of the year. The third link is to our instructional video. And the fourth link is the step-by-step written out instructions. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And that are the instructions I'm actually going to walk through today. Just to show you what those look like for a moment. Here's what the page looks like. The total of 10 pages, but there are a lot of screenshots and images within those pages. I'm going to move them off to the side. And then I'm going to click on the very first link, which says Residential Comparable Sales Lookup Tool. Now, in these instructions, I just want to note that the instructions tell you to go to, in the green bar, go to Appeal Process. And if you go to the appeal process, and you scroll down even further, it takes a lot longer to get there. Under Preparing Your Appeal, you can also find the Residential Comparable Sales Lookup Tool. However, in preparation for this documentation, we decided that it would be easier for the public if we went ahead and put it on the first page of the appeals, so you can find it in both. And on the first page, there's actually a little bit more description. So go ahead and click on the Residential Comparable Sales Lookup Tool. And it should say Boulder County right here at the top, and this is where we're going to start using our tool. Now, first I'm going to come back to these instructions for just a moment. In these instructions, we're going to cover how to walk through a sample account, demonstrate reviewing the comparables, how to modify the comparables using the filters, selecting the comparables, and then generating a report. The goal is for you to be able to go through this training and then work with this tool independently. The information that we used is from the tax years 2023 and 2024. If you use these instructions in a future year, you may find some slightly different results because we'll have different set of sales every 2 years. The process will, however, be similar along with the keystrokes and methodology. I am going to step through these steps one by one, and it is my recommendation that you, the first time going through this, just watch this video, and then a second time go through and do the steps yourself. The video will allow you to pause, rewind, go forward, increase the speed in which I go through it. It allows you a little more control of the wheel, but my recommendation is to walk through this twice. So you can see right here in the instructions, we went to bouldercessor.org, we went to the appeals screen, and we did select the residential comparable sales tool. So I will be starting with these instructions on the second page. And so I'm going to copy this account number right here, which is R06044002. And I'm going to enter that. And for the rest of this video, for the most part, I'm going to have my instructions over on my other monitor. That'll just make it so that you can see more of the real estate right here. If this is your first time going through these instructions, please make sure to take a moment to read through this disclaimer, which talks about what information you should see included in here, including things that may not be in here. And then go ahead and click Accept. And that will take just a moment to load, but when it loads, there are really two primary pages that are related to this residential comparable sales lookup tool. The first one is where you're going to review information and select comparables. And so for the sections of this, up here we have the parcel details. And so for this sample account that we entered, The address is 2381 Spotswood in Longmont. It's going to have information about the living area, which would be primarily above grade square footage that's finished. It's going to have your land square footage, so a little bit of information about the subject property. If we have a photo on the record, it will have a photo over here on the right-hand side. Then the next section is the comparable sales section, and we just refer to it as the comp section. Over here, it says that there are 19 sales currently in this list. There's a little bit of summary subject information right here. And then there is information about each of the comparable sales. When you go into this, there will automatically, the first up to 6 sales will be pre-selected. Just to be clear, this is based off of an algorithm or a mathematical formula used by our vendor. These are not the 6 specific sales that were used to value this property. All of the sales in the Longmont area went into the same model and were all studied together. So every sale in Longmont was actually considered as part of the contributor to that valuation, not just these 6. We initially go through and do a mass appraisal, and then this tool right here actually hosts the model that we created. We don't value through this tool, but we do use this tool as a test of reasonableness when someone comes in and appeals or protests their property valuation to determine whether or not the results of that valuation were reasonable based on the comparable sales. So you can go ahead and deselect these if you want, or you can select them. This is how we will select comparables, but just to know that these 6 are just a default. They are not the 6 that were used to establish the level of value. Within each comparable, you'll have a little snapshot of a photo of the property, as well as some basic property information, including when it sold, how much it sold for, its address, its square footage. You can use this information to compare these comparable sales to the subject property. For example, comparable number 1, it appears to be the same square footage as the subject property. It is likely the same model from the builder. They were built in 2017, both of them were. So you can use this to sort of compare where this one was built 1 year newer than the subject property, but obviously very similarly. Once you've gone through the comparable sales, and a couple more things about the comparable sales. There are up to 32 comparable sales listed here. There are filters at the bottom that we're going to get to that determine which sales flood into here. In this case, we're using a subdivision filter, and I'll show you that in just a moment. And there are 19 sales that are in here. So if I change the filters, up to 32 would come in, but the first 32 are what are going to come in here. What determines what the first 32 are primarily the filters, and then a mathematical formula used by the vendor that compares the subject property information with the comparable sales to see which ones it believes are similar. If you have less than 32 sales based on the filters, then all of them would come in. You scroll down a little bit further, the next section is at the bottom actually of the comp section, and this just includes some summary statistics. We do use statistics, so this is something that we do take a look at, and you can see where the valuation of this property is in comparison to where these statistics fall. The next section is map location. This map uses our data. However, it uses a Google map to display that data. In this case, we have the subject property is the red P for the property, and the 19 sales are the little green dots all over this subdivision. This can be a particularly useful tool if you have a consideration on a property where maybe location really matters, such as if the subject property were located near Highway 66, you may really want to know which ones are located also adjacent to Highway 66. If you hover over any of these sales, it'll actually give you a couple of pieces of basic information about that sale. So number 15, it gives us what the account number is. It sold March 15th of 2021, and it sold for $650,000. Over here, I can click satellite. So if I wanted to know more details and want to see detailed imagery of the properties, I could use this. And then you can also use the tools, sorry, right here on the right, to zoom in. You can just grab and drag the map to navigate around the map. And then the next section down, which is at the very bottom of the page, is our filters. So go ahead and hit the plus sign that's right here next to filter sales. And these are the preset filters that are available for this property. If you go into the unincorporated areas, mountain areas, some of our models, we don't have this subdivision filter right here because the majority of properties are not in a standard subdivision. Areas like Longmont, where a majority of properties are in a standard subdivision, we do have that filter available. So right now we've got a neighborhood filter, we have subdivision, we have design. This means that we're looking at the 2 years that are most recent within our sales period, but we also have a distance filter over here. So I'm going to go ahead and just demonstrate that if I hit clear all, that's going to get rid of my filter by the Providence subdivision. I could type in 0.25, this is set by miles, and then I could run sale comps. And previously we had 19 sales, and up here it's going to tell us now it's running against 21 sales. So there are 21 sales that are within a quarter mile of the subject property. And I'm just waiting for this blue line to go all the way across and then disappear. That means it has reloaded everything. And you can see down here, it says sales 21. And if you scroll down, the change is most easily seen on the map. Now it has gone past the Providence subdivision and actually gone across the street into another subdivision that's nearby. And it's selected 2 sales from that subdivision. That's why we went from 19 sales to 21 sales. So you can see that if you do change the filters, it will impact the sales that are available to you. I'm going to go ahead and open up the filter sales again. And I'm going to get rid of my distance filter. And if I want to go back to having a subdivision filter, I can just hit reset. And reset's going to take it back to the default. So it just resets everything back to the beginning. Now, if there's a filter that I want to select multiple criteria, let's say I wanted to see all the ranches and all the multi-stories or 2 stories within the Providence subdivision, I can hold down the control button and then click multi-story at the same time. And as you can see, the multi-story and the ranch are both selected now. Now I'll click on sale comp down here in the right corner, and now it is running against 34 comps. However, remember previously I told you that it is going to only display the first 32 comps. And so you can see on your screen, it should say sales 32 right here. And now I can go through and scroll through. If you have more sales than what you can see on your screen, there should be a scroll bar right here on the right-hand side, the sales comp data that will allow you to scroll through the comps. But if I go down to the bottom, now you can see that there are, get down the bottom of my screen, there are 32 sales now that are pulling up. The summary statistics that were here before have now changed because now they're based on the 32 sales. And for the purposes of this demonstration, I don't really want to go through and use 32 sales. I would like to reduce it down to something smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and hit reset, and that's going to set me back to ranch. And now I'll hit sale comps. Please feel free to play with the filters until you find ones that make where you have a sales set that makes good sense to you and that you really do believe is comparable to the subject property. Now, in this case, I could go through here, these 19 sales, and select different ones if I wanted to. For the purposes of demonstration, I'm just going to show you that you can click on and click off sales, and that's how you can select different ones. Then once you are satisfied with the comparables that you've selected, you think they're similar enough to warrant a further review, you can go ahead and click compare right here at the bottom, right after the summary statistics. And that's going to take you to the second page of this tool. This is going to be a more detailed analysis or comparison between the subject property and the sales. And for those of you who are following with the instructions, I am now trying to make sure I keep track. I am now on page 8, bottom of page 8, where it says detailed sales comparison, and heading into page 9. On here, I actually selected 6 comparable sales to compare, but not all of them fit on my monitor. That is going to be the case the majority of the time. So to see the additional sales, look, we're even showing you sales with photos that are upside down. We really are showing you what's on the record. Uh, to see the additional sales, I can click this next button right here that is above the furthest sale on the right-hand side and below this generate report button. And that will allow me to scroll. So now I can see comparable number 5 and comparable number 6. If I take a look at this and I decide for any reason that I feel that maybe comparable number 5 is a better comparable and I want to see it over next to comparable 2, I can just grab the label that says the comparable name and I can drag it over, and then it's going to sort of restructure. So now it goes comparable 1, 2, and 5. It's not going to renumber the comparables, it's just going to change the order in which they are displayed. So for the comparables, again, you can see the photo, you can see the address. We do have an account number. One thing to note, and this is not in the instructions, one thing to note about the account number, if you use this account number to look up a property in our property search on the Boulder County website, the account number is not going to come up correctly. And that is because this is actually our account number plus 3 digits at the end for the number of sales that have occurred on that property. So if you use all the numbers up to and cut off the last 3, you can use that in our property search. But at all times, you can use the address and pull up the exact same properties. So over here on the left is some subject information that I can use to compare the subject to the comparable sales that occurred. So living area is going to be one of them. Parking, which is going to be attached garage in this case, land size, are just a couple of the features that you would be able to compare. If everything about these properties is identical, for instance, let's say I went ahead and only looked at sales that had a square footage of 1,977 square feet, which would be the case in comparable number 1, 2, and 3. Let's say I didn't bring 6 of them across. Then living area wouldn't even show up on this list. This list will only show an item if there is a difference between the subject property and the comparables that was adjusted for based on our model. So there is obviously more descriptions that are on our website, but this is only going to show ones that were actually adjusted for. That does make this screen a lot smaller and easier to read. The next section down includes some sale information. So here's the sale date of comparable number 1, which is May of 2022, the sale price, time adjusted sales price, and then this is the basically this is the dollar amount after all adjustments for both time and for differences have been considered. The section below that is a summary statistics again, and that's for just these 6 specific ones. On the previous page, it was for all 19 sales. This is for these 6. If you want to see some additional comparison, here's the analysis chart between the subject is the red line and the dots are the comparable sales. And then you can review the map again. Again, you can use satellite or the regular Google map. And when you prepare a report, it will actually include this. Once you are satisfied with your comparables, come up here to the very top of the screen to the green button in the upper right that says Generate Report. This is going to generate a report and save it to wherever the default save location is for your device. So you may be on a computer, it may be in one spot, it may be on a different spot if you're on a mobile device or if you're on a tablet. In my case, it actually, for me, I have an add-on to my web browser, so my downloads show up here. I can't tell you exactly where it's saving it to on your computer because it is all determined by your device and it's not determined by this software. So in my case, I can go ahead and click up here to downloads, and this is going to say appraiser report. And this is the information that I will see. So it gives me the sale, or the subject information, plus all the comparables. Then this is a little analysis chart of the subject versus the sales. And then here is my map. It's a little stretched, but it's still pretty good. When you go to print, here is a tip or a trick. You go to print, there's a print in the top right-hand corner. And this information a lot of the times gets cut off. So sometimes it says 3 sheets of paper, sometimes this will say 6. If it's saying 6, there is a cheat. So if I come down here to more settings, most printers will have options for scale. And in the scale, normally it goes to the default, which is going to cut a part of the page off and make it so that all the pages go onto a second page, which is when you'll get 6 sheets of paper. However, if you click Fit to Printable area, then all of it's going to print on 1 sheet each. So in which case, this is 3 sheets of paper. So that is just your tip or trick for the day. Please go in here and walk through those step-by-step instructions. play with it. You can use the sample account, you can use other accounts, but our goal is that if you follow these step-by-step instructions, that you should be able to use the tool independently. If you run into errors with accounts or you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to our office, or you can also watch this video again for further instructions. Thank you for joining us, and I hope that you enjoy this tool. Come on.